Hello and welcome. Today is Thursday, the 11th of February. My name is Chris Ellis. Welcome to the World Crypto Network. We have a show today with quite a diverse lineup. We've got Ollie. Young Ollie is with us back again. How are you doing, Ollie?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Very well. Thanks for being with us. We've also joined by Theo Goodman. Are you around? He is
Hello,
there.
everyone in internet world. Thanks for watching today.
And we have Janine.
Hello.
Uh, and we also have some two relatively new guests. We've also got Alex Kaczynski. Alex, say hi. Alex, are you there? You have to unmute
Yeah,
yourself.
hey, how's it going?
Cool, cool. And we also have Sam. And Sam may be able to talk to us on voice or perhaps just in text and we can read out your messages. But Sam is from India, which actually will bring me to one of the first topics of the day. Before we do, we will be shortly joined by Alakanani. So I was just going to go into and start off the discussion. If you check in the description below, we've got all the topics. Wanted to talk a little bit about this story, which I'm just going to pull up on my screen here. Mark Andreessen, who's one of the founders of the Netscape browser back in the 90s, made a very kind of revealing comment the other day on Twitter, where he basically compared himself to a neo-colonialist. It was a very unfortunately worded tweet, and he came in for quite a lot of criticism for making this comment. But essentially, what's behind this story is that Facebook had an app called the Free Basics app, which basically gave people in places like India access to the internet, in quotes, except it gave them certain privileged access to certain websites over other websites. This violated one of the core principles of the Bitcoin called net neutrality, often championed by the web's inventor Tim Berners-Lee. And so the regulators in India banned the app or blocked the app, and Facebook were forced to withdraw. So unfortunately, Mark Andreessen then goes on to Twitter to say that anti-colonialism has been economically catastrophic for the Indian people for decades. Why stop now? And this forced Facebook to announce a public statement distancing themselves from Mark Andreessen's comments. He has since apologized in a series of 5 tweets. He's saying, "Last night on Twitter, I made an ill-informed and ill-advised comment about Indian politics and economics. To be clear, I'm 100% opposed to colonialism and 100% in favor of independence and freedom in every country, including India. I'm a huge admirer of the nation of India and Indian people," oh my God, "who have been nothing but kind and generous to me for many years. I apologize for any offense may have caused and withdraw it in full and without reservation. I will leave all future commentary on all these topics to people with more knowledge and experience than me." So it looks like he came in for quite a lot of attack. Using the word colonialism, I think, was very revealing of him, because I've often been using this term in conferences, etc., when I've turned up and I've seen the likes of the Gates Foundation and advocates of like internet.org, which is a Facebook-owned company, to try and get the internet out into regions of the world that do not have the same level of telecoms infrastructure. It's one of the motivations behind what I really want to start today's show on, which is Alakanani, who recently, thanks to our private initiative, has now got internet access, and she's joined us here just now, been thrown into the thick of it. And one of the things that I wanted to stress here with this story about Mark Andreessen and Facebook is that, you know, these very wealthy Westerners from Silicon Valley would like a version of the internet which is their version. And when they go out to countries that are lacking in the same infrastructure as these Western countries, it's very tempting for them to offer free access. The problem is that nothing's really free. There's no such thing as free. And the only people that can afford to offer free services are rich, very wealthy companies with wealthy venture capitalist backers who can afford to have what's known as a loss leader. A loss leader is a concept from business where you offer a service for free in exchange for usually adoption, user adoption, and customer acquisition. In return, they give you a service that costs you nothing at the point of use, but eventually will cost you something. In the case of Free Basics and internet.org, it was privileged access to a certain area of the internet, but not access to the whole internet equally, which violated the principle of net neutrality. So Sam is actually from India. Did you want me to read out anything that you said, Sam, in the comments before we ask Alakanani to say some words? Because since you're from India itself, I thought it would be interesting to get your views on it. Okay, so what made it free, basic website free, and other paid on mobile? They were calling it differential pricing. So you get what, so this is Sam, so you get what Facebook wants you to see for free, but other things were charged under the normal data plan. So data was not treated as neutral, but free basic data was given priority. Okay. And so I wasn't even aware of this initiative. I was aware of internet.org. I was not aware of like the free basics thing. I had to play catch up this afternoon and read through all of the articles to pull myself up to date. But this is the thing, like the internet, let's break the word down, is two words, inter and network. Networks are just people, right? They're just made of people. They don't work without the participation of the people. And inter just means interconnecting. So it's an interconnecting network of networks. And what was different about the internet to the networks that existed before was they were all siloed and sectioned off from one another. The internet is basically a series of naming conventions, a series of agreements of protocols that allows those various networks to join. And once they join, the cost of keeping the information private in those networks rises quite, largely, right? It's actually difficult to keep the data private. So also we have Alex as well, and I believe you're a little bit knowledgeable on this subject. So I was wondering, Alex, as a technician, as an engineer yourself, I was wondering to get your views on it. Is Alex there?
I'm sorry, I was occupied by something.
So what do you think about all of this stuff with Facebook, internet.org, Mark Andreessen's Freudian slip?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely paints a picture of, more Orwellian internet. It's scary in general to talk about changing and veering away from what we have right now, right? We have a pretty good balance right now, and throwing that off by going and tackling new countries and getting them to convert over to systems that cater to the user, that create an echo chamber and contain information rather than allow the spread of information is not good for anyone, I don't think.
What other comments has Andreessen made in the past? He has an investment firm called Andreessen Horowitz, and he's invested in quite a large portfolio of companies, including Coinbase in the Bitcoin space, and also Slack as well, the very popular chat channel. There's various other portfolio companies it has, obviously Facebook being one of them. But what other comments has this made? What is his philosophy and his ideology all about, do you think?
Honestly, it's really hard to tell. He's funded some open source projects as well that directly compete with paid investments he has. So it's really hard to gauge this guy. That's I believe it's Meteor.js. Let me double check on that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
but you can fund
Meteor.js,
open source projects to create the appearance that you are pro, open source without necessarily believing it in your heart of hearts. Like you can still, bad people can do good things to make themselves appear good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, and he's the main funder here in Meteor Series A. So there you go. And then Rocket Chat is built on top of Meteor, and that's a direct competitor to Slack, which he's also invested in. So it's almost like he's hedged his bet there. So again, it's hard to gauge this guy.
Yeah, I think actually what I've been hearing is that he's been blocking people on Twitter, any kind of dissenting voices. I know that Mr. Hoddle was saying the same thing in the stake pool chat earlier on, was saying like he basically blocked him and he's been blocking other people. And I think anyone who makes that kind of churlish, kind of reactionary posture. Like blocking somebody on Twitter, really, I only really reserve it for people that are bombarding me with messages, unwanted messages. I don't just shut people down just because I disagree with one comment that they've made. In fact, actually, what I might actually start a viral meme on the internet now, like where we talk about the badge of honor. It's a badge of honor, actually, if you're blocked by Andreessen. You know, let's all get blocked. Let him block everybody, so that from now on he doesn't get to read anything but people that agree with him. He just wants to surround himself with yes men.
Yeah, I was actually followed myself by him, and then blocked for I guess something he didn't like. It wasn't even Bitcoin related or political, very political. And yeah, I was shocked. I've got my badge of honor.
So I think, like, whether or not, like, when you talk about sussing him out, I've kind of sussed him out already. Like, anybody that closes down dissenting voices, as far as I'm concerned, probably isn't learning, because if you're not challenging yourself and you're not, you know, willing to embrace, you know, yesterday I did a very, I think, a very fruitful podcast with David Birch, and David Birch and I are, you know, disagree, I think, philosophically, ideologically, a lot, but that doesn't prevent us from having a civilized debate, a constructive debate where we both listen to one another's arguments, and hopefully, you know, it won't be long until he's edited it and put it online. But actually, you know, I sort of emailed him to say, after, you know, some Twitter storm between himself and also John Matonis, formerly at the Bitcoin Foundation, about the merits of Bitcoin and whether it can be used to launder money and tax evasion. I did actually send David an email, and I said in that email, I said, look, I disagree with you ideologically. I also disagree with the existence of a state ideologically. But as an engineer, I'm writing to inform you that there is nothing preventing the tax authorities in the United Kingdom from enforcing British companies that operate in Bitcoin to declare ahead of the tax year their HD wallets, their Bitcoin HD wallet public keys, not the private keys, just the public keys. And when you do, it's hierarchical deterministic wallets, BIP32, if you want to go look that up. And I said to him in a signed message, I signed it, and I also did a Creative Commons non-commercial usage on the writing in there, just because I don't want him going off and selling it to, you know, as a consultant. I want like a proper discussion about this. It's obvious anyway. It was obvious to me that the tax authorities were probably going to stumble upon this particular feature of Bitcoin. They already have existing powers to enter your home, particularly in the United Kingdom, without a warrant. The presumption of innocence does not apply in matters of taxation in the United Kingdom. And so really, this idea that Bitcoin can be used to evade taxes isn't a very persuasive one for me, just because we've already had tools already that exist for people to evade taxes, and in any case, in Bitcoin, if you slip up and you make a mistake, it's a permanent mistake, and so your crime is forever recorded. And in any case, the tax authorities can do it. So that's the long and short of it. We had a conversation; it was a very civilized one. And I think the problem I've got with Mark Andreessen is that whilst we're facing these really contentious, hard issues, whilst this technology, which unabatedly continues to emerge and challenge us with these hard decisions and these hard moral decisions, much more, I think, than any time in history, because more than any so in history, we've got the big picture now. We've got more people, more voices that need to be heard, which puts more pressure on us as a civilization to make sure that every voice is listened to, or at least feels listened to. I think that he's cowering, like he really is cowering, and he's not able to take all these dissenting voices in, and I think that makes him soft, frankly.
Well, I think the Bitcoin debate has brought it out in him. You know, I think it's really rattling his cage right now. The KYC AML pressure, you know, is there. You know, he wants to conform to cash out, to make the best on the investment now. It seems like there's short-term over long-term thought here, and maybe not even a true understanding of what Bitcoin really is at its core. And you know, if you don't take the time to research and get into it, it's very easy to ingrain a belief system that's incorrect.
Yeah, that's right. And do you think these VCs did enough due diligence before getting involved in Bitcoin? Do you think they understood a Nakamoto consensus, or do you think they just thought, oh, it's another thing that we can control on the internet, we can just throw lots of money at it and steer the direction of it?
I think most of them thought they could shape this thing or move it in the direction that they felt was best.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people looked at the market cap and are like, this is doable.
Okay, so let's. So Alakanani's dropped off. I'm just trying to see if I can get her back. I want to just then segue into this post then on Medium, which emerged earlier, the Bitcoin Roundtable. It includes quite a lot of companies that have got together to have a discussion. We can see Bitfinex, BitFury, BTCC, that's BTC China, Coinfloor, F2 Pool, Genesis Mining, and lots of others that have basically, and it really sort of exposes the Section 3, have reached an agreement which basically is holding off any kind of contentious hard fork, including Classic or XT or any other. That presumably means Bitcoin Unlimited as well. So Alex, I wanted to know what your thoughts on this announcement on Medium is, because they're basically saying that in recent times we've had significant attention within the Bitcoin ecosystem, to quote, and beyond what is commonly referred to as the block size issue, the size and scale of Bitcoin blocks, and there's a pressing need for an inclusive roadmap that takes into account the needs of businesses and all stakeholders. This actually sounds to me like a very clear-headed discussion. So I wondered if you could tell us anything, share us any of your thoughts on this announcement.
Yeah, absolutely. This is definitely progress. I think people have taken the time to review the roadmaps, have dismissed emotion from their decision-making process, and have begun to address the technical roadmap and the way forward from here. Hard forks are dangerous when they're contentious. Having two different belief systems that want to conform to one system is difficult. It's one side's got to lose. One side's got to come out victorious, and just having a rush to get a hard fork together is not a good way to do anything. The data wasn't there, and it's not wise to move without the data and getting the facts straight. This took time to disseminate the information, to talk to people who may have been misled or misinformed. So yeah, I see this as a great deal of progress, and I see a lot of the article's good. I think it was well received as well.
Yeah, that's right. And I quite liked it as well. It was very rational. It was very level-headed. It was certainly very different to the flame wars that we'd seen in social media with all these kind of sock puppets emerging. You've got a lot of businesses with sunk costs. They've sunk a lot of money into these business models, which they're now finding undermined and difficult to sustain. A lot of these well-funded companies are running out of runway, and as a result are under pressure to rapidly expand Bitcoin's network, but it doesn't include all. It only really, the Bitcoin then, as you expand it, if you try to put sort of, the VCs, when you're part of a startup, will put in certain key performance indicator metrics, KPI metrics, on the founders of those organizations. They will insist on monthly or quarterly reviews if you're lucky. In those reviews, they have what are called term sheets, where they give you the money that they've promised you over sequence of payments, and if you fail to reach any of their metrics and reach any of their standards, like the number of users and all of these kind of metrics, they will simply withdraw the money, which then basically stops you growing as a business. And if you're not growing, as the saying goes, you're dying. And so these businesses and these entrepreneurs are put under tremendous pressure, often to make compromised decisions, forming moral hazards, forcing users into blind alleys where they're giving away personal identifiable information over to marketing companies without realizing. And they're not taking the time to educate their users, because they're under personal financial pressure, because they've got to pay their mortgages, they've got to pay their rent. And so this sort of undue pressure does not take account of the fact, particularly in the case of Bitcoin, which is nothing like a startup, under undue pressure. And as I love to quote Hobbes' Leviathan, where he says that laws aren't made from truth, they're made from authority. And the problem with Bitcoin is that you're just dealing with truth. Right? As a developer, when you code, if your code doesn't work, it doesn't compile, that's what you're faced with. You're faced with the brute facts, the brute truth. When you legislate as a as a politician, or you make a decision as an employee, as an entrepreneur or a VC of a company, you can say whatever the damn hell you like, and it will work for a while. And that's the problem with these manipulations, is they work for a while. And so the VC sees the manipulation working, they see the money coming in for a few months to a few weeks, and then it's like, oh yeah, it's working. But the problem with Bitcoin is we can't afford to make these types of short-term decisions, because it just will stop working. And in fact, as XT like amply demonstrated, in fact, congratulations to Gavin Andreessen for demonstrating the fact that a contentious hard fork in this way, and picking such a divisive poster child like Mike Hearn, was just destined to failure. Hopefully nobody ever tries anything to pull a stunt like that again, because it was just an utter failure, because everyone realized if we rush into this and make such a rash decision, this is the kind of outcome we're going to get. We're just going to get hated, and we don't have a monopoly on the mainstream media, the monopoly that they thought they had. People weren't falling for it, and so I think it's amazing that we've got this sort of rational, level-headed decision this quickly. It's just been a few months, right, since XT failed,
Yeah, I mean, this has been going on for about a year, and this is just, it's fantastic.
Theo, would you want to chime in?
Yeah, because I do have to go soon. I think the roundtable text sounds really reasonable, and of course, and of course, it should be, regarded as serious because it is on Medium, so that already makes it official.
Right.
And then second of all, which is just then I looked, of course, the first comment under that whole, I thought, okay, yeah, it's definitely not someone from, I guess, Bitcoin Classic Slack that wrote this post, of course, but it sounded really reasonable and wasn't attacking anybody in the text at all. And of course, the first comment is like, okay, these mining pools do not represent the miners. So you guys, if you really want to save Bitcoin, start make your own pool. So get on over there and panic, because these guys are going to take it from you. And he is right in the sense that it's true. The people that signed it represent mining pools and represent big farms, which are kind of go together with most of the big pools now too. But I just thought, I guess the infighting just will never stop, and tribal warfare will never stop with humans, and that's just how it is. But I think this is a good segue, and I like there's a really good variety of companies and people that signed that, at least that agreement to have a roundtable, and compromises are being made. If you read that, they agreed. I like the 5 points. They said, okay, we do need a block increase. We do need to chill out. We support segregated witness for now, but they didn't say that's the end all, and they basically, and none of them are gonna support a what are they called?
Contentious hard fork.
Contentious hard fork, and I think that's great. So let's all just not support contentious hard forks for now. I mean, we could debate the technicals about 2 megabyte, 3 megabyte, 3.32 megabyte, 8 megabyte, or whatever, but as long as you've got this in the background, that contentious fork in the background, then everything goes away from the technical discussion. It's just it's crazy. And the whole thing about the media, what you said, they don't own the major media. Yeah, but the thing is that it just showed that some teams of people that viewed things a certain way were really good at marketing and really good at launching media offensives, and they really were good at that. They were great, and the timing, and okay, let's first we do the Medium article, then we get the Forbes headline, and then they do the New York Times, then we hit the Twitter, and then the blogs come. That was really clever. That was a good media offensive from that point of view. But that means that now not only do developers have to develop, they have to do PR, and they have to do hire media people too, in order just to get enough space that what they're doing isn't just cut off because there's people with pitchforks that got told something but didn't really read both sides. I don't know. It's just
you're right.
Let's chill out a little bit. I mean, everybody, people on Twitter say, "Oh yeah, you're smearing people." I had this guy call, "You're smearing Mike Hearn." I was like, dude, I sat there and read his points of his Medium article on World Crypto Network and said, okay, he has some points for sure. It doesn't mean that we should all go to Classic or whatever XT just because he had made some good points about the community and how it is and stuff. I think, read that again. He does have some good points. And I think at the closing, as far as that, about that article, because I think that is also part of it that's not technical, is that does Bitcoin have to cross the chasm now? Or will it ever? And personally, I don't care. Okay? I mean, just use it, and it will happen as it happens. And stop trying to force it to cross the chasm. You can put I don't have the cool picture of this chasm, but that's kind of like what, will it go mainstream for every average Joe? And really, I think it's fine as not mainstream and just something to be used for dark web speculation and people that get it, and that's okay. And if the mainstream wants to get it, then the mainstream can get it if they need it, but not if they don't need it, as it doesn't make any sense. Maybe they don't need it right now, and that's fine. So there's no reason to push it. And I've been trying to use the analogy, which I don't know, might be suitable or not, but it's kind of like when a guy likes a girl and he tries really hard and it never works. So stop trying hard, Bitcoin people. Just chill out.
That's a good analogy.
That's a very good
My one part though is, my one argument to that is, we could need Bitcoin. Everyone could end up in the position where we need Bitcoin. So growing it in the most logical, methodical way possible is to me the best idea, because we get long-term sustainability out of it. We get a system that could, power future generations rather than cashing out on this thing short term.
We do need Bitcoin.
Why do we need Bitcoin, Ollie?
Because it's a financial thing. I mean, when in the future, I think it will be internet. It will be internet stuff.
But so, can you say more? Can you say more about it?
What about Bitcoin?
Well, like you said something earlier on in the chat, and I'm trying to get you to say it here on air. But you said something about fintech and the youth. Do you remember what it was?
No, I forgot.
You said that you were telling me that fintech belongs to the kids, because essentially you are going to.
In the future, I think it will be. Yeah, in the future, it's all up to the kids. In the future, they'll carry on the fintech and all that. Yeah.
That's right, because you're the ones that are going to inherit whatever decisions we make today.
Yeah.
And we're having decisions as grown-ups. Not that we're being very grown up about it, I think, at the moment. And this is going to affect your generation and the generation that comes after you. And you're not going to have a choice about whatever decisions get made today. And in fact, you're actually excluded from the democracy system we have until you're 18. So you can't even have a say over voting. But what's different between Bitcoin and traditional democracy and representative democracy we have here in the West is that you can have an effect right now, right? Because you can start coding right away. You can start making contributions.
Yeah. Also, I've been collecting silver and stuff like that as well.
Have you?
Yeah, because it keeps going up now, gold and silver and stuff.
Well, yeah, but there's the speculation side of it. The problem with gold and silver is, and Alex was saying this earlier in Stateful chat, is like they're not very viable as currencies because they don't travel across space-time very well. They don't, you can imagine Satoshi in one of his early writings asked us to imagine Bitcoin as a colorless metal. It's a little bit like a colorless metal that can travel across internet protocols. So imagine a meteor just hit Earth, and out of it emerged this new magical commodity, and it's like this colorless metal that can actually interoperate with our existing telephonics infrastructure, and it has these properties of things like digital scarcity and timestamping and metadata and all of these things that we can do wonderful stuff with.
Some phones and solar panels.
Yeah. But it's something that we've never seen before, and it's multifaceted.
Very useful.
that it's a fractal phenomena. That means that it's made up of so many different components from different areas of academia, which means that no one person can claim to be an expert on Bitcoin top to bottom, because you have to know about economics, sociology, all the way to the engineering. All the way to the engineering level. So you have to know
hard because you said there's programmers that you know that don't do security.
Yeah.
Security, but you want everyone to know. You want to teach me security. You want me to teach you programming. So you want everyone to know about a lot of things, about everything about Bitcoin. So there's programming, there's loads of things. Security, yeah, there's a lot of things in it. Cryptography.
Yeah. So yeah, somebody's asking to join the chat. Somebody from the stake pool, Matteo, wants to join. Yeah, absolutely. I'm up for people joining in. We have lost Alakanani. I'm not sure. I was chatting to Alakanani. That was going to be our head story. Was to share this again, just to remind everybody. So we raised £200 or £215 for Alakanani. She now has a permanent internet connection. We had a long chat last night on Skype. It was very good quality. So this is her having her internet installed, which is fantastic, and just trying to see if we can get her back on air. I know that she has a busy schedule. So one of the plans is that we do have the Fullnode up and running. Alex, who's a developer who's been very helpful, has now received his Fullnode. This is my Fullnode. I'm actually running Jesse Lite on this one. So this is the one that I built the other day for Alakanani, but I've just put a new memory card in there with Jesse Lite, because the new versions of the Fullnodes are going to have Debbie and Jesse on them, just because it's more up to date. I was more familiar with Wheezy, that's why I started with Wheezy, but Wheezy is an older version of Debian. Jesse is a newer version, and also I've been told there's a developer at RockOS who's very kindly offered to build us our own custom installation for the Fullnode. So that's very good of him, because he's much more talented than I am at this coding stuff. So he's going to be joining us on air at some point in the near future, and will be talking us through the process of how to build the operating system from the ground up. Because remember that we don't want to own this. You can buy the Fullnode off of us as convenience if you want to just have a quick solution.
You want with it.
Yeah, but we don't want to stop you from making your own. We want you to be able to build your own. So we're going to open source all the instructions, and hopefully that will give everyone an optimal experience. We're also expecting in the next few days the new ARM8 processor to be on general release. So that's happening, I think, on the 13th or the 14th of February. And after that, we're kind of expecting these older processing units to come down in price. But that's okay, because Bitcoin works pretty well on these ARM7 processors anyway. And now that we're optimizing it with the better operating systems and these efficiency gains, we should see better returns on that. So we're joined now by Matthew. Matthew, come in. Are you there? Matteo, you there? Hello?
I was saying, I actually installed Jesse on.
Oh, sorry. Good afternoon. Sorry, lost in the tabs. How are you today, everyone?
Yeah, good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Just doing a little bit of Bitcoin trading today. Listening to what's going on in the news. Has there been any progressive updates in the development of the Bitcoin? Should I say infighting or division?
Well, yeah, we were just talking about. We wondered if you had any thoughts, and that was why you wanted to join us, because we just finished discussing the roundtable that was announced on the Medium blog post, which is this much sort of level-headed, calmer view of the progression of Bitcoin development, rather than supporting any kind of contentious hard forks. We should discuss it rationally and so forth. So what was was there anything you had to say, or any kind of comments you wanted to make about it?
Well, I am from the school of thinking that there can only be one is legacy thinking, really. It's we can have more than one blockchain, we can have more than one Bitcoin, and I mean, if we survive Mt. Gox, we can certainly survive a forking and exchanges supporting various different versions of Bitcoin. Of course, they'll be priced differently, and we'll probably see all kinds of crazy action in the markets. But I mean, as a trader, that's just presenting even more opportunity. But what I can say for now, I mean, think about it like this: as I mean, potentially, it could cause some serious problems. But on the other hand, you know, Bitcoiners who own vanilla Bitcoin right now could think of it as a stock split almost. You'd be able to spend your coins on multiple chains, and of course they'd probably be priced differently according to the usage and various technologies, but that's a real possibility that we haven't considered yet.
Well, there's actually all kinds of scary issues like network partitioning and all kinds of issues that come up with hard forking in general. You know, if one chain starts to run away with the hash power at any given point, there can be a fork again and another fork as hash rate swings between chains or clients even, I guess you could say at that point. Another issue too is I'm all for two blockchains if they're separated in a manner that's safe for the network, which is going and maybe changing all the addresses from a checkpoint forward, and changing as well the RPC ports, and then everything's fine. They don't conflict with each other, and we can have two blockchains, and I would be a big fan. That's no problem. But that's not what they want to do. They want one Bitcoin, and what they're doing is really really being destructive. I mean, they're going to hurt the network effect that they want to grow, and you know, the price goes down.
Yeah, having spent some time in China and going to conferences over there here and there, I definitely understand that there's certainly issues with the miners over the majority of miners being over in China, and the potential incompatibilities. I've got to step out for a minute. I've actually got a call coming in. Excuse me.
Okay, so we are joined by Alakanani. Alakanani, can you hear us? Are you there?
Chris, can I say something quickly before we change subject?
Yeah, sure.
I was you saying about I forgot now. Alright.
Okay, I think Alakanani is having trouble with the internet. She's just messaged me on Skype to say that it cut out and she's had to restart the router. So we are basically, the internet, the way it works in this region of Africa is that it isn't an IP infrastructure, internet protocol infrastructure, it's a telecoms, a mobile phone infrastructure. So she's basically got a 2G SIM card that's going over the airwaves, and it's going via Pretoria in South Africa. Now, when we did a speed check, the speed was very good, and I did have an hour-long discussion with her. She didn't see any terms in the contract about, you know, bandwidth capacity, but the benefit is that she's paying for this on a monthly rolling contract. It's with Orange, which is a well-known company that they operate here in the UK as well. So it's not as if she's going to be tied into a whole year, you know. She's only paying it for monthly. So we're hopefully, you know, any of these kind of issues we'll be able to iron out, help her troubleshoot with, because if she's going to be running like a Bitcoin full node as well, you know, she's going to run into some bandwidth issues there as well. But yeah, I mean, I think that the problem with the Bitcoin is that too many business interests got involved, and then when they realized they had a Nakamoto's consensus to contend with, they realized that actually what they'd invested in wasn't quite what they were thinking it was, and that actually we were going to have to listen to every single voice, even the ones that we didn't like, and trying to misshape and misdirect the debate and calling this, you know, we support, you know, bigger blocks, casting this false dichotomy between, you know, small block proponents and large block proponents was really just a very silly maneuver, both politically and also just strategically on the part of Mike Hearn and Gavin Andreessen. Like, they engaged in the dark arts of politics, post-Machiavellian politics that is divorced from ethics, and they were not thinking that the people, the demos, the people that are reading this information are going to see them for what they are. And I understand Matthew's point about it, you know, us surviving it and whatever, you know, doesn't kill you makes you stronger and all this kind of argumentation. But really, it was a learnable opportunity. We all got to learn from the fact that this method, like, remember the word political comes from the Greek politikos, and it's to do with the way that the power relates to the people. It's to do with the sophos, and the experts relate to the demos, the many. And before you got to Machiavelli in the Middle Ages, you know, even if you were an aristocrat, you still had to think ethically. Ethics as a process, ethics as a way of making reasoned judgments. You still had to be persuasive to get your decisions put through. But nowadays, politics is much more about posturing, and it's much more about power, and it's much more about the question of what do we do now given the state of affairs, like given who can do what in what position. And yeah, and being political and spinning and hiring PR people, as Theo was saying, should not be something that engineers like Vladimir van der Laan, the lead developer of Bitcoin, should have to be dealing with. Like, he's just faced with the truth every day. He's got engineering tasks to do. In fact, so many that he's, you know, inundated. I don't even know actually how Vladimir is paid. I'm not sure. I'd be really interested to know what the compensation schedule is of the Bitcoin developers. I am going to be taking part a lot more in the IRC channels over there and getting to know the guys more to see if I can help in a more direct way. But yeah, I mean, obviously the guys need help. It would be good if we could help them here on the World Crypto Network, because it looks like at the moment they're coming under sustained attack from these companies that do have large, you know, advertising budgets and do have, you know, a lot of sway in these sort of mainstream media journals. So, okay, well those were all our topics. Ollie, what did you want to do then? Over to you. You're the host now.
I don't know. We'll do another live stream later, maybe after this.
Yeah. What did you want to show us in terms of like Jesse? Because you got a full node.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a full node.
We tweeted about, but it sounds to me like you've gone out, you bought a new SD card, and you put a different SD card in there.
Yeah, I can talk about that. Yeah, I'll talk about that. Okay. I bought a new SD card that's 16 gigabytes. I don't know if it's 1 class or 10, but what I did is then I got that and I got the adapter, and I plugged that into. Why is he moving? No, that's quite cool actually. And then so then I plugged in my computer the adapter as well as the other thing, and then I got the other programs. Actually, I can show you a few programs. The program I did it with. Actually, no. So there's, where is it? Here we go. A Win32 disk imager. So you install Jesse.
This is really useful because one of the problems with the instructions I've done so far is it's presumed that you're using OS 10 on a Mac or Linux. And so, because I don't own a Windows box, I keep calling them malware boxes. Because I don't own a Windows box, I'm not able to do a demonstration. So hopefully you can help us with that, Ollie.
Yeah, it's funny. Jesse's actually named out Wheezy and Jesse named after Toy Story characters.
Ah, okay, very useful.
So if you install Jesse, I've actually got the Jesse full desktop image base. I haven't actually got the Mint Lite version, because I rather have a desktop thing. I actually had to get, I had to actually do it. I had to someone else wanted to do something, so I had to get him to try and install something. So yeah, you'd install the zip file torrent. I don't know.
The problem with torrent is that you've got to load up your BitTorrent application. Yeah. So zip is probably quicker.
Yeah.
So okay, so you download the zip file.
Actually, matter. Well, I might as well actually just. I won't install it again, but then once you install it, you'll get a zip, and then you could use a few. Your program will come up probably, and you unzip it, and then you could do it to your desktop, and you install Win32 disk imager.
Yeah, and then.
I typed Mac OS by accident. Yeah, Mac OS typed in by accident. Oh, someone wanted to see if it would work on Mac OS. It didn't work. Yeah,
No, it's only a Windows application. Yeah, because on Mac OS you can use the DD command.
Yeah, then you install this there. Download the unnamed SQL here, and you install it. And when you get here, then you have to plug in that adapter, don't you? You plug it in the adapter.
Yeah.
And you would have a devices. I haven't got any because I haven't got it in. Then you would just write the file. So if you had you would plug it in the adapter, then you go to images. Actually, no, where is it? I haven't actually got the image. I don't know where the image is.
Yeah, so this is the adapter. This is the adapter. It's a regular SD card adapter, and the reason you need it is because the micro SD. Let me just show you what it looks like in the box when you first get it. This is what they look like nowadays. This is the micro SD here, and this is the traditional old legacy SD card there. So the Raspberry Pi uses micro SD because it's smaller form factor, but most computers and laptops and various USB adapters like this one here will only accept the larger format. So when you get your Fullnode, you will actually receive the adapter. It's not a memory card in and of itself. You see it's got a little hole at the bottom. You use it, as Ollie says, to plug in the micro SD one. Yeah. Okay. And so you use the Win32 disk imager then, Ollie. Yeah.
I actually think I deleted the Jesse after I installed it, but what I did, so basically, once you've installed it, it take about 20 minutes or so because it's a big file, 1.6 gigabytes. So then after that, you go, pushing over. Then you plug in. You probably, I don't know what it would be. I've actually got 16 gigabytes. It's actually quite a big one. It's quite good. And then you go to this little thing here, and it will give select a disk image. Then you push right. Chris.
Oh, yeah. Hello.
Yeah, I've done that. As I've done with that.
Okay. Great.
I could log into my Pi if you wanted me to.
Yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, for sure. I mean, whatever you want to share with us is great. We've finished our topics. It looks like Alakanani's had problems with her router.
I just wanted to do another live stream and do all about this.
No, it's okay. You carry on, mate. You carry on. Show us. Feel free to show us whatever you want.
Okay, so I should know. First of all, you're gonna install Advanced IP Scanner, or I don't know. Yeah, Advanced IP Scanner. You scan the network of your IPs. You turn your Pi on Fullnode. You have all the IPs.
Yeah, so that's looking for devices that are on the router.
Yeah.
Alex, do you know a better way of finding your Pi on the local network? Does that have a host name?
Depends. Yeah, it depends on your router, but you can just go into your router usually. And yeah, you could also do an address scan through your network too with something like why am I drawing a blank?
Oh, is this for Windows or is it like a?
Oh, I'm thinking Linux. Sorry, oops.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, this works for both. What is it? Nmap. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, Nmap. Yeah. I use Nmap for a few things.
Yeah, so you just scan your dots, your subnet, and report all addresses, which is very easy to do.
I got a whole book on Kali Linux security. So if you have a look at my IP and the Raspberry Pi Foundation is 192.168.0.4. So let's do this. Party. Then I log in with Pi. I actually got a root. I log in as root because I don't know if it's an error, but if you try and extract Python fast without being root, it won't work. Then we try to deinstall the sudo the VNC server. You want to install a VNC server. So VNC server would be getting a desktop version, of the PuTTY is just a command line, but if you have VNC, I'll show you in a minute. So you go sudo apt get install type VNC server. I think might be all. Yep, there we go. But I've already installed it, so it says already in newest version. It says not upgraded, but I'm not going to do that. Then after that, you run this command here. Oh, it's already running. Okay, it's already running. So then we open up. Yeah, then you go to Windows, and we're going to install VNC viewer. Download. We download it from here, the real VNC. And then you install it for Windows, the exe or zip file. Then you get the viewer up here. Then you type the IP again in, but that thing, then 1, then connect. And you type, once you actually first install this, you'll get like a password thing to type in. So I'm doing my complicated password. Then here we go. We're like a desktop version of everything. So we've got my Pi here. When it starts off, you probably won't have anything here. You have Wastebin and Iceweasel, things you have.
Yeah, that's right. So you're on the original one. Is that my one that you're looking at?
Yeah. I actually changed it out because I couldn't get it to work. No, I couldn't get Bitcoin installed. And I've done testnet. I've got testnet. So I actually got some stuff and testing it. Got some test bitcoins to have a little play around with, because I actually got the Peter Todd thing working.
Oh, the Peter Todd Python library, yeah.
Yeah, it's really good actually. I got it working in Windows and I got it working in Linux, but the one in Windows is actually really cool actually. If you just go import, you can just import Bitcoin. Actually, no, it wouldn't work. Oh yeah, it would work. Oh, that's quite weird. It works in Python 3.4. I installed it on Python 2.7. That's weird. It works in both, and that's good. So you can import Bitcoin. I haven't actually used much of it, but that's one of the modules. I don't know if I write any code in it because I haven't done much of it.
But can you give us an example of why Peter Todd's library is useful? What sort of things are you hoping?
Yeah, I can't write the code, but I've done some research and stuff. I've looked on his GitHub page is quite good actually. His GitHub page explains some stuff about it. What Peter Todd is, you can actually do like raw transactions with it. I've heard.
Yeah, and the reason we wanted to do the raw transactions is because of the Steve's project to do the open provenance. One of the features of open provenance, it's a sort of a semi-fork of my world citizenship project a couple of years ago, and the philosophy behind this style of development is that we put all the mechanics of Bitcoin and the cryptography on the outside of the protocol. That means that you can see, rather than bundling it up in a binary and like giving you an exe file or giving you a DMG to install on your computer so that you can't see the engine, if you like. You can't hear the hum of the engine, you can't see the pistons going up and down. What we wanted to do was actually make the protocol in such a way so that you're using plain text files, hashing those, putting them into zips, with all that kind of stuff, so that then a layperson, maybe he's still technically adept, but a layperson can get their head around what this technology is doing, and they can like lift up the bonnet and they can say, oh, I see, so it's running this particular library which is running this type of mathematics. You don't have to understand the mathematics of SHA-2 or SHA-1 or OpenSSL or SEPTKey or any of these. All you have to do is get the gist of it. You just have to understand basically what it is, and then you can see, oh, so it's running a hash of that, and that's deterministic. That will work on any computer in the world no matter what. If I change one bit of information in this text file, the whole hash changes. So then they understand that concept. They then put it into the blockchain, and they can see that through lots of different APIs and lots of different block explorers, they can see the same hash in the same part of the op return field, and they go, okay, so now everyone can see the proof that this document existed at this time. And once they start to put it together in their head, the penny drops, and they go, I understand how this protocol works, to such an extent that they don't have to fear being lied to in the future by an expert or a paternalistic engineer with, VC investors who says, oh, just dumb it all down, just put a nice bubblegum UI on it, don't let them worry too much about the complexity of it. But it's vital that people understand the complexity of it, because as Richard Stallman says, if you don't understand the tools control you, because it's like buying a car from a manufacturer and then having the car being driven for you. Toyota don't drive you everywhere when you buy their car. You drive the car and you're in control of it.
This is all the so here we go. So a Python Bitcoin library. This Python 2.3 library provides an easy interface to the Bitcoin data structures and protocol. That's cool. That's quite cool. So yeah.
That's Vladimir van der Laan, who's the lead Bitcoin developer. So he's saying the Swiss Army knife of the Bitcoin protocol.
A requirement. I haven't actually had to do this, but actually I think I might have it all installed. Yeah, I think I might have it all installed. I'm not sure, but then there's the RPC interface, Bitcoin RPC. That's actually really cool. The Bitcoin RPC is good, which is designed to work with Bitcoin Core 11. Well, 0.12.
Well, yeah, that's an old version now. Yeah.
0.12 out now. Well, Bitcoin RPC actually, it's kind of weird. It's an older version. It doesn't actually work, but I don't know if he had to import something or it's a different code, because there's another one. If you type in Bitcoin library for Python, there's actually, I'm not sure if Peter Todd actually took code from somewhere else, because there's another one that's an older version that's been around longer than his one. Either he took the code from, where is it? It's the other one. It's this other thing. There's this other one called Python, Bitcoin Python 0. That's 0.5. That's this one. There's another one called 0.3. It's quite weird, actually. Here we go, this one. 0.5.0 tar.jz.
Yeah, I think Todd took it over. I think we'll have to get
Yep,
him on.
that's what happened.
Yeah.
What happened? He edited stuff.
No, he forked it and took it under his wing. Yeah. So
if you use this one, then you import. Let me have a look. Let's go back to the other thing. It's import. I think it's Bitcoin.rpc. I haven't actually written much code for it yet. So where is it? There we go. I just might not work on this one, but it might be a different command. .rpc. Okay, it's because I'm using this one. I used to use I think it might be Python 2.7. But yeah, it actually does work for certain things. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. I mean, what's nice about this, Ollie, is that people are going to get to see you learning. And I think in pedagogy, maybe you don't know the word pedagogy. Pedagogy is the academic study of learning. So it's when teachers learn how to learn and how to teach. So pedagogy is the field of study for teaching. And in pedagogy, you know, we have this idea about shared learning, cooperative learning or pair learning, where people watch one another learning. And when they watch one another learning, it triggers something in the brain called mirror neurons. And mirror neurons have the special property, for example, if I watch somebody juggling, what will happen is that my neurons in my brain will start to mirror the neurons in their brain, even though I'm not actually juggling myself. I'm only watching them juggle. So in pedagogy, when people watch somebody else learn and they see the mistakes and they see that, you know, like, oh yeah, I tried this out, but it didn't work, and then I tried this thing, that first of all, it often lowers their fear of making mistakes, which can often be a big barrier to somebody's learning. If they are fearful of saying something stupid in front of others that know more than them, they often don't ask questions in the first place. They will often feel more relaxed and like, okay, it's safe for me to make mistakes. And then the most important part is really for them to give themselves permission to take on something that's difficult and challenging, something that may threaten to overturn some beliefs that they've held for some time, because you know that's Bitcoin. I think does that to a lot of people. A lot of people come to Bitcoin with a lot of, you know, long-held political and economic beliefs, only to be faced by Bitcoin and all of its, you know, bare brute facts, and they go, oh no, I can't. So instead of looking at it from an engineering perspective with an open mind like you are, they look at it from a political economic standpoint and they just attack it because they're scared of it. And then they keep attacking, oh, this is going to crash, it's dead already.
They're actually scared of it.
Yeah, they're scared of it because it works, and it's been working for 7 years. And the one metric that they never discuss in the media is the hash rate. It's got an exahash of hash rate. That's that makes it by orders of magnitude, far and away, the most powerful supercomputer on the planet. We are now inside the machine. You understand the concept. It's no longer that the machine is something that we can encompass in the laptop or the mobile phone. We're now surrounded in an atmosphere of a machine, right? And that means that it's like nature. It's always present. It's always available to us. It's accessible to us. And as Peter Todd says, it democratizes access to the truth, because the blockchain cannot lie. There are no gaps in the blockchain. You can't censor the blockchain without blocking the whole damn application itself. So you can block the whole blockchain, but you can't start like editing out parts of the blockchain. And that's one of the risks with these centralized APIs. The problem is that they could, if they wanted to, start censoring op return data. They could, for example, sort of not give you the op return data at all as a field or on display, because in the model view controller paradigm from computer science, they control the view. So they control what you see, and they control your access to it. Yes, they may well be running their own version of Core in the back end, but they write the CSS and the HTML. So they are in control of the view in the model view controller paradigm. You're not able to see what they want you to see, and that's dangerous. And that's one of the reasons why philosophically we need to, in my opinion, disseminate and spread the full node as a concept, not as
anyone can use it what they want to use it for.
Yeah, and they've got to understand why philosophically why it's important, because these nodes are validators, and also more importantly, it puts the single history that Satoshi discussed very early in the white paper, in the second page of the white paper. He talks about a single history that is undeniable. even in the face of mistaken belief, you cannot deny. And to have that single history in your jurisdiction, in your house, like Alakanani soon will have, that is the world you're holding right there. That is access to the full blockchain. Nobody can censor it, okay? And so this is an important concept for people to understand, because up until now, the internet has been a hub and spoke paradigm. It's been a server-rich paradigm where a few people, an oligopoly, dictate to you what you see on the internet. It's only an accident, really, that the technology of the internet accelerated so quickly that the existing power structures didn't see its potential. And so it overtook their ability to regulate and control it. And now they've realized its impact, and now they can see it. Now all of a sudden they're desperate and they're scrambling and they're like trying to block it, and they're trying to, they know they can't block it because that's too obvious. So what they try to do is circumvent it and try to hijack it. Maybe we'll fork it, or maybe we'll create a new one called Ethereum, and that'll be like Bitcoin 2.0, 3.0, 4.0. They'll come up with all these concepts. I'm not saying that the Ethereum won't end up being useful, but it's obvious now with the likes of R3, and you can see people like Joseph Lubin, formerly at Goldman Sachs back in the day. You can see where this is heading. Right, you can see that this is a corporatocracy. This is a corporate-driven project. Now, that's not to say that Ethereum or a fork of Ethereum may not produce something that's very interesting. I just don't think that it's anything like what is the extant Bitcoin network, an exahash of hashing power. We may as well use the best tools that we have available before we start sort of rushing off into high school research projects like Ethereum. Not to take away from the genius that is Vitalik, but we should use what already works. So, yeah, what else is there? Do we want final thoughts? Do we want to summarize before we go off air?
Final thoughts.
Final thoughts.
Someone in the chat is interested in getting a full node, but they don't use Twitter, so they want to know what your preferred contact is outside of Twitter.
Thank you. Yes, you can contact us at fullnode@protip.is. Fullnode, all one word, @protip.is. That is the email address, and that's me personally that controls that email address. So get in touch if you want one. We're going to be starting stage 3. I don't know when we're going to be starting stage 3. Probably in March. I'm not going to start building the full nodes until the new version of Bitcoin is out, and probably until the chat from RockOS is ready to sort of build this new Debbie and Jesse. Also, I have announced already, I'll just say it again, if any of you bought a full node from me on the original version, I will be sending you vouchers which will give you upgrade. You will be able to upgrade to the new one. I haven't quite worked out the finances of that yet. I hope to be able to do it for free. I might ask you for an opt-in voluntary donation, but I've only distributed so far about 30 to overseas people, so hopefully that won't be so many that I can't just stick a new memory stick in the post, and you can just plug it into your full node and you'll have the new software version. Hopefully with the help of the likes of Alex, the likes of the chap at RockOS, and also Henry as well, who will be receiving a full node soon. Henry Young is also a developer. Now all these engineers are stepping forward because I'm still learning like you, Ollie. These more experienced engineers will be able to take the project a step further and allow for a package manager, which means that people will be able to decide, which version of Bitcoin they use or which library they use, and that way there will be less of this kind of overhead of having to compile things and all of that. So yeah, it's exciting stuff, and I like it when people just come together organically and produce these kind of projects. And so fullnode@protip.is to get in touch with me, and I'll let you know as soon as the next stage is ready for launch.
Ask something quickly.
Yeah.
Why didn't they call protip.com or protip.com?
Oh, well, first of all, protip.com wasn't available, obviously, because it's like a really obvious thing. But yeah, protip.is is quite a memorable name, I guess. Protip is what? Protip is something magnificent. Protip is great.
What a protip is. It is a protip.
It is a pro tip. Professional tipping. Professional. Yeah, that was the concept.
It's kind of a joke in a way, rather than.
Yeah. We do have like my.protip.is, which was like what we were going to go with originally, but then we ended up deciding just to go with protip.is because, yeah, like say, like pro tip was just we wanted something short, memorable. It's a meme in its own right. Means we can do like hashtag pro tip. You know, put your Bitcoin address on your webpage. Helps to spread the word of Bitcoin, and hopefully more people can get access to it as a as a technology and make it more available to people. So that was the idea. Alex, any final thoughts?
Yeah, let's see where this debate takes us in the next week. I think we're near the trailing end. And yeah, be careful with Ethereum. Price is very high, very lofty right now. Oh, wow, 0.0168. Wow, new all-time high. So yeah, be careful with Ethereum. That's got a big market cap and no set limit right now. What else? I think that's about it.
Just going to say about Ethereum. I mean, I don't want to being hating on Ethereum, so I want to say something in defense of Ethereum. But there was a chap here, Ethan Noob, on Twitter. He did send me a link to all the projects that were involved in Ethereum, and it looks like there are quite a number of projects, and I will be, looking at these with great interest, and obviously, by the way, I should also say that I am running an Ethereum full node as well on a Raspberry Pi, so I am open-minded to it. I'm just very skeptical at the recent sort of their use of PR and the media. Obviously, they're at the mercy of the speculators. We can see that with all the pumping that's been going on. So yeah, I'm a little bit skeptical, but I was encouraged by just the sheer number of open source projects and distributed apps that were being built on top of it. That's actually very good. I encourage that. So yeah, I'm definitely going to be looking into it. And Sam's had to leave us, but thank you very much, Sam, to for joining us, and hopefully we'll be able to actually get to hear your voice at some point, and that would be really, really cool. So yeah. So thanks very much to everybody. That's an update. Hopefully I'll be on tomorrow. What I might actually do in anticipation of the new version of Bitcoin releasing is I might actually build the Bitcoin nodes, the cases and so forth, maybe either tomorrow or this weekend, and then actually start loading the software when it eventually comes out in the next week or two. So thanks very much for joining us. Janine, do you have any final thoughts? You're always a good producer. You're always keeping an eye on all the comments and everything. If maybe you want to give us a summary before we finally say goodbye.
The only thing I want to say back when you were talking about or in general about people raging on Twitter and that they're having arguments, and Twitter isn't really the best place to have long, detailed arguments. There was a good tweet by, what's his name? Austin Allred. He's the founder of Grasswire News, and he had a good tweet earlier that he said the rule no one has ever followed on Twitter: reserve judgment until you have all of the context and information required to make a judgment. So I thought that was a good message, that people should do that more. They should try to think about context and get more information before they make judgments.
Yeah, on that note, I'm just to make it clear, I'm not anti-Ethereum. I'm just, begging caution. I don't exactly see Ethereum as similar to Bitcoin. That's all.
Yeah.
I'm not for or against Ethereum. I mean, I thought it was really cool when it came out, and now I'm not so sure. So I don't know either.
And on the point about full context, we also do have a Gitter channel. Gitter is an open source version of Slack that works directly with GitHub itself. And so one of the benefits of using Gitter, we're not fully fledged yet, we're still emerging, is that every comment has its own URI. So you can actually link directly to comments. Whoops, I've just copied the wrong thing in there. But you can link directly to comments, and you can reply and quote, which means that you get the full context. And I really like that as a public discourse, because then it means that people can have these arguments in such a way that you can quote them with the surrounding context rather than just screen grabbing something that was written on IRC and then tweeting it out and then obscuring the rest of the debate. Even if you're right, even if you were tweeting, you know, and your point was the correct one, you still lay yourself open to the criticism that you're tweeting something out of context, and nobody has any excuses. So I'm definitely going to be shilling Gitter. I'm not associated with them anyway. I just love the products, and I think it's a great response to the Andreessen Horowitz Slack, you know, and all of his colonialist intentions. So thank you very much for tuning in. This has been Chris Ellis of the World Crypto Network. The anti-colonialist agenda is in full force with the Fullnode project. We are coming to you authentically and encouraging you to be hyper-local and in all your power and your domicility. We will be with you again tomorrow. You can follow me at Mr. Chris Ellis on Twitter. You can follow us on the World Crypto Network at World Crypto Net, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.